แหมยูไม่อยู่ไอไม่มั่นใจเลยทำไมเมื่อกี้ได้ทำไมตอนนี้มีความงง
เหมือนเดิมก็แปลว่า next time you change
You
good
need to I need to change that too.
to the stream key for all of them.
Okay, it works
Good,
now.
we're good.
Okay. What time the cocktail starts?
7:30.
But we need to prepare the room before that.
Yeah, once it's done, they turn it. They're already preparing that room already.
So it's not in a rush. You're in a rush.
No, yeah, but
We're late by 10 minutes or
let's try to be on time.
We can't be on time because we are late here. 10 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you for mine.
What time we're supposed to be done?
5:15, so it will be 5:30.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the session on field crops. Just a warning that this session is between just before the cocktail drink, so we mind that we need to finish on time so that this room can be prepared for the cocktail. So unless you don't mind skipping on cocktails, then we can go on forever. Okay, it's my pleasure to invite the chair, Dr. Chua, and co-chair Dr. Ali to the dais. Dr. Chua and Dr. Ali are the chair and co-chair of our field crops. And so today we have a interesting discussion on the activities of our special interest group in field crops. We have Dr. Malaban who will update us about the very successful hybrid rice and hybrid corn tour that happened in Philippines a couple of months ago.
Oh.
We have Dr. Fan Jiming about update on current breeding technology. APSA is discussing a MOU with 1CG, 1CGIR. So we have Dr. Ajay Panchbhai who will discuss about the potential collaboration opportunities. And then finally, Dr. Vivek from CIMIT about the Maize Improvement Consortium. So Dr. Chua, all yours, your remarks. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today we have a very interesting section, and of late you will heard a lot about every nation talk about food security, and also they are talking about self-sufficient. Like this morning, they are talking about self-sufficient level, and food security been one of the agenda to all over the world. And when we talk about food security, basically we are talking about enough food for the nation. And you look at the food security component, basically we are talking about carbohydrate, that which is rice and wheat, and also protein, that's maybe chicken, beef, and fiber. I think APSA have been having this for the last 28 years, and then they've been quite strong in vegetables, and the fiber supply is not much an issue. And then field crop have been one of the section, have been one of the topic just recently we talk about. So we hope to have more participation and to have more people work into this field crop, that we can achieve our food security and also self-sufficient for the world, and especially the field crop like paddy and rice and wheat. And today we have a very interesting section. We are honored to have 4 speakers who give us the topic on the seed production, and also the new technique of breeding. And also we also have 2 NGO sharing with us what other germplasm or embrace they have, they can be shared with the individual company. I hope people can explore this opportunity to see what are the resources they can gain from this, and then be able to work together to develop the field crop industry, and then produce enough food for the world. So there's with this, I hope to have your attention to concentrate, and then take the opportunity to see what is available and what is good for you. And then I will pass this to my co-chairs, Dr. Ali, to move on to the next step. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Dr. Chua, for your introductory speech and opening remarks. Again, very warm welcome to all of you. Very good afternoon from myself and from SIG Field Crop Groups. Already you know that there are 4 presentations in this technical session. All speakers are requested to complete your presentation within your allocated time. Then we'll have few questions definitely from the audience after every presentation. Our first presenter, Dr. Frisco M. Malaban. Dr. Frisco Malaba has more than 20 years experience in the field of rice industry in Philippines. He graduated from the University of Philippine Los Banos, and also he obtained PhD and Masters in Agronomy. So please, Dr. Frisco, your time is 12 minutes.
Good afternoon to everybody. Thank you for attending this session. The Special Interest Group on Field Crops sponsored this study tour on hybrid rice and corn in the Philippines last September 17 to 23. And we are very happy that this group, I think, are happy with what they have seen in the field with regards to the hybrid rice, both on the commercial seed production, cultivation, as well as on hybrid corn. So this afternoon, I will be sharing with you the learnings of the members of this APSA, particularly on field crops, on this study tour. So this study tour is part of the Asia Pacific Seed Association activity during the 2023. And this study tour was organized by APSA in collaboration with the Philippine Seed Industry Association, and of course the Rice Board in the Philippines. Rice Board is the organization of the different private and public seed companies engaged in hybrid rice, as well as, of course, in partnership with the Department of Agriculture National Rice Program. This 5-day study tour was attended by 15 APSA delegates, including representatives from the 13 APSA member companies and 2 APSA and PSIA Rice Board member, with the goal of understanding the rice and the corn industry in the Philippines. So during the first day of the tour, the delegates were brought to several hybrid rice field demonstration trials and hybrid rice seed production sites. They also visited the gene bank of the Philippine Rice Research Institute. This is the National Rice Research Institute of the Philippines, and their experiment station. And after visiting the field rice experiment station, we brought the delegates to one of the private seed company hybrid corn seed processing and drying facilities in the nearby area in Central Luzon. So this is with the Prasad Seeds. And in day 2 of the tour, the delegates visited the International Rice Research Institute, or IRI, located in Los Baños, Laguna, or south of Manila. So the delegates engaged in discussion with Dr. Johar Ali, the hybrid rice breeding lead principal scientist. And they also visited some of the facilities of the International Institute. After the visit at TIRI, we also showed to the delegates one of the hybrid rice seed company in the Philippines in the nearby area. This is by SL Agritech Corporation, where they have around 42 hectares research and development center. And I think they showcase also their new breeding lines in the company, as well as some of the small plot seed production near their principal office. In day 3, we accompanied the delegates to the southern Philippines, which is Davao City. This is the area where the commercial hybrid rice seed production in the Philippines is located. Why? Why the southern Philippines? This is the best area so far for hybrid rice seed production in the Philippines because that area don't have the typhoons or the storm that affected the Luzon area during the rainy season. And for several years, the different seed companies located their commercial hybrid seed production in Davao provinces. So I think four or five, four seed companies volunteered to showcase their hybrid rice commercial seed production, both in the province of Davao Oriental and the province of Davao del Sur. So SL Agritech Corporation showcased their commercial seed production of the different varieties of hybrid, both in Davao Oriental and in Davao del Sur. Tau Seeds also accompany the delegates to their commercial seed production, as well as Longping Seeds, Bioseeds, and Bayer. One of the private company also allowed the delegates to visit the seed processing plant of SL Agritech in Davao Oriental. So some of the members of the tour, they were able to see how the hybrid seed is being handled from the field to the drying facilities, cleaning facilities, up to packaging, seed treatment, up to packaging and storage. So I think some of the members were able to learn, particularly the young or the small companies, they were able to see how or what facilities they will be going to establish in the future if ever they will be going into commercial hybrid rice seed production. So in here you can see that they are looking at the A/R commercial seed production in Davao Oriental. And in the day 4, the participants, it so happened that in the Philippines, the Rice Board, every season we establish a cluster demonstration farm of hybrids, wherein all the members of Rice Board demonstrated their commercial hybrid varieties that is being used in the commercial hybrid rice program in the Philippines. So I think this is a very rare opportunity for some of the members of the APSA where they can see all the commercial hybrid varieties in the Philippines in one place. And different companies have their technicians in front of their technology demonstration trial, and they're explaining to the visitors the technology that they use in planting those hybrid rice varieties in the Philippines. And this is one way where Philippines, I think, was successful in convincing the top leadership of the country that hybrid rice production can help in attaining some degree of food sufficiency or rice sufficiency in the country. As you all know, The population of the Philippines is increasing very fast. Our land is decreasing because of other industrial needs. And it's because of hybrid rice production that we can still increase the production, although we are still importing the deficit as far as the local requirement for rice. So as you can see in this picture, the delegates, we invited them during the plenary session of the National Rice Technology Forum, wherein the different companies presented their hybrid rice technologies together with implementers of the hybrid rice program at the local level. We invited also some of the farmer leaders, particularly the chairman of the irrigators associations in the Philippines, the leaders of the farmers cooperatives and associations, so that after learning the different technologies of hybrid rice during that forum, then they have already the idea of how they are going to start the commercial rice production in their particular municipality, province, or region. Rice Board is doing this National Rice Technology Forum for almost 8 years. So every wet season, every dry season, we selected an area where we showcase the technology. And this is where we were able to continuously promote the hybrid rice technology in the Philippines. One of the delegates actually asked me, Dr. Malabanan, how did you convince all the private companies to put up their varieties or demo side by side in one area? Because they are all competitors. But I told them we have a very healthy competition in the Philippines as far as hybrid rice technology in the country. And of course, that is to support the national program of increasing rice production for the Filipinos.
You have only 2 minutes.
So the tour concluded with the delegates visiting the field demonstration and the discussions, also with the hybrid rice corn by Bayer Crop Science and Syngenta. And during the last activity, we even showcased to them an urban agro-farming training center wherein they were able to see how the farmers cooperative or learning school can have in one location. They have a dairy farm, they have a poultry farm, they have a vegetable farm, and the fruit trees where the trainees can learn the different technologies as part of this urban farming. And even participants coming from other countries, they are welcome to this Makatabo farm in Davao City. So that is, I think, the last schedule of the tour, and these are the key learnings. We highlighted the farm clustering and consolidation approach in the production of hybrid rice. When I say clustering, we group the farms into 100 hectares so that one company can use their hybrid seeds in 100 hectares provided with technician to help the farmers so that the farmers will follow the technology and hasten the increase in yield on a per hectare basis. And then this is a clear example of private-public sector partnership, which I think helped in promoting hybrid rice technology in the Philippines. And then this National Rice Technology Forum and Cluster Technology Demo Farm, which is a seasonal activity of both private and public sector. This will really help you promote the technology continuously. And I think very important also that they were able to see the different facilities related to hybrid rice seed production in the Philippines. And one thing where the Philippines, particularly the members of Philippine Seed Industry Association and Rice Board, we are actually showcasing this to the members so that they can see the possible investment opportunity in hybrid rice commercial seed production and commercial hybrid planting in the Philippines in the future. So everybody is welcome to the Philippines, and they can see the hybrid rice technology for the members. Good afternoon, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fisco, for your interactive, very informative presentation. And now the house is open for a few quick questions. Yes, please.
Yes. Thank you very much for your presentation. No, I just want to know the rate, the share of hybrid rice in the total of rice in Philippines these days. It's my first question. And second question, there had some trouble about hybrid rice some years ago, and I want to know how it's solved. What are thinking the NGOs in Philippines regarding hybrid rice?
Priscilla, can you come to the stage, please, for answer the question? Okay.
So the first question is the percentage utilization of hybrid in the Philippines. Right now, it's around 35% of the total irrigated areas in the Philippines. We started it only with around 3,500 hectares way back in early 2000. And this year, we have around 1.5 to 1.6 million hectares planted to hybrid rice. And the second question is on the constraints. Well, that was our experience during the initial stages of the program, but with continuous establishment of this National Rice Technology Forum demo farm nationwide, inviting the farmers organization, see for themselves the technology, then they stop questioning the hybrid rice as to whether this will help them or not. And they were clearly able to see that they can increase the production and they can increase their income versus the inbred certified seeds. And one thing good, which is I think help also, I myself is a farmer also, and I can testify to them that I can get around 10 tons per hectare in my field.
Thank you very much. Any other question, please? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Fresco, with a big clap. And now our next speaker, Professor Dr. Fan, Senior Scientist, Chief Scientist, Institute of Food Crops, Union Academy of Agricultural Science. Professor Fan, I think not physically, not able to present here somehow. So he could present his paper through one line. Am I right, Kuna? So Professor Fan, can you hear us?
Yes, and may I share my slides now?
Okay. So please, Professor Fan, please. Your time is 25 minutes.
Can you see the slides? Hello?
Yes, we can see your slide.
Okay.
Can you make it to full screen mode, please?
Yes. First of all, thank you. Appreciate my attention.
Please go for full screen.
Dr. Fan, yes,
Okay.
yes, it's okay now. Please continue.
So I can start now, right?
Yes.
First of all, thank you for your attention, for giving us a chance to share our information here. Today we all have two part of presentation. First is about basic production in the world, then second was in China. Each section we're talking about three sectors. First is about the maize production in the world and in China. And the second is the seed production in world in China. Also, third is about the resources utilization in the world and in China, especially in our teams. So let's get started. We all know that corn seed originates from Mexico, from grasses. Now they spread all over to the world, in every country in the world almost. So the diversity, genetic diversity is everywhere. You can see from ground hay, year, and cone year trade, year length, diameter, colors. You can see from the chart. So when seed is available in every country try to store all germplasm. In central government, in China also in every province we have a seed bank, germplasm bank. Also in every big research institute and seed company, they have their own germplasm bankers to store seed. Based on report or analysis, there are many hypotheses talking about when, where the seed is spread across the world. Of course, it's from America, North America, South America, then to Europe, to Africa, then to China. For China, we know that there are about 3 routings. One is from India, another one from South Asia, another one from sea. So 3 routings usually. Maybe another routing not labeled here, the Silk Route from here, from Middle East to China, but not labeled here, maybe just a minus. This is all hypothesis maybe. We know that the corn hybrid heterosis usage is starting from USA. After Shell in 1908 heterosis phenomena in USA. Because it's profitable, so American, a lot of capital flew to this area, building a lot of seed company. We can see until from that time to 2020, seed business is about 41 billion now. Corn occupied about more than 14%. So that means seed companies thriving, still growing now. For maize production in the world, you can see we have 2 resources reported this one, say that USA and China are first and second in production, either in acreage or yield or total output. They occupy about 55%. One record say 56.2. One record say if we add this one out, it's about 54. So around 55 anyway. China also not only big product producers, also big consumers. US is number 1 and China is second. Major consuming area is animal feed. And the USA including ethanol. In China, almost ethanol feed. The number in USA for animal feed and ethanol is about 73%. In China, about 70%. We almost no ethanol production in current time. World seed industry, you can see that no doubt USA and Europe, they are developed earlier, they have big market shares. We have the pattern, we have the world say that the 2 super giant 8 winners. What's the 2? Almost all of them, big 2 is from USA, then some is from Europe. So all big seed company in the world is from either USA or Europe. From this chart, you also can see the same pattern. No big one in top 5, no one is from China. So for seed germplasm, I think, or we know, corn belt dent from USA is very important. That is very good, well adapted to the temperate areas. especially USA, in China, maybe Brazil, also Argentina. Also, CBD seed also is a good suppliers or components for CIMMYT germplasm. By the scientists' effort in the history, especially Shell in USA in 19th century, they building heterosis ideas of final heterosis. Then US breeders, Chinese breeders make a great effort using cone CBD, that means cone belt dent, all over the world. Based on some statistics, for first country, USA, China, Brazil, and China, they're producing 55% of cone, but their germplasm, about more than 80% rely on CBD lines. This proportion even high in USA and China. They reach about 92%, depending on CBD lines. There's one research show that CBD lines may be decreased in the future. The era 2, or they call about 1980s, they reach the peak, then gradually goes down. They predict in the future some year there will be less and less, maybe disappear. From this chart, we also can see that because of US in the 80s, last century, 80s, 90s, find genetic diversity is narrowed down. So they try to introduce some other genetic resources. The old lines in SS and SS, this line, everybody knows this line if you do cone breeders. They become less and less with the years from 1980s to 2010. There are more and more portion of lines is not from exit previous PVP lines, germplasms. That means more exotic lines come to US germplasm or breeding or commercial productions. This also show up in China. We'll see in the next slides. So where is the unknown the germplasm come from? Based on the record or researchers in USA in late 90s and early of this century, they're starting several big programs for using exotic germplasm. The big 3 program is AGM, and also North Carolina State University and North Carolina have a SIG program. This program, they find very good diversity maize from tropical and everywhere, other place across the world. So by the research of USA, they found that in era 1, era 2, era 3, with the new germplasm comes, the diversity still keep the same, even increase. With this genetic diversity, with the single seed production of hybrids come up, with a new technology in mechanization, fertilization, new transgenic maize, the heterosis keep growing and yield keep growing USA. Looks like they didn't reach plateau yet. It's maybe go over all the time, forever, looks like, based on this lines. So also with this information available, breeders try to find different hetero groups. They try to find different patterns to make single hybrids. This make they call green revolutions in last century and continue in this century. We're just talking about world situation, especially USA. So next section, next part, we are talking about China. we're talking about acreage, we plant it, also seed company, also problem we meet and solution we make. So in China, maize production goes to peak in 2015, then goes down a little bit because we build a lot of highway, high-speed training, and also a lot of building for people to have a house living. So occupy a lot of land. Also, our breeding technology is not maybe doing well in that time, and because of competition, because of diseases, a lot of old germ plant didn't play a good role in that time. So there's a few years here, this looks like it goes down a little bit. Then starting from 2019, year starting going up. There's the newest data is 22. We can see that maize already goes to #1 crops in China for acreage, and it's occupied wheat and rice. By the seed industry, we can see in the world, the pattern is like they keep growing. The compound average annual growth rate is about 3.8%. In China, we growth rate is high. So keep growing. Looks like we expect that in 2026, they will be good to 893, 100 billion renminbi that time. That tells you that the China seed market still keep growing, even faster than average in the world. Talking about production acreage, if you list them by the province, Heilongjiang in China is #1, and Henan is a second, so we can see this as number. The interesting thing is that in seed company in China, no seed company have more than 10% of production occupy our market shares. All seed companies are very small. So first one is Syngenta is even foreigners, not Chinese seed companies. Chinese seed company, biggest one is Longping High Tech, is only about 5%. So in 2002, still about 5%. Look at the interesting trend. Syngenta grew more than 1%. Other seed company last year in 2002 didn't grow a lot. Looks like even something a decrease. That means tell you two things. One thing is in China, we don't have a big seed company. #1 is from other outside countries. Second, we have maybe 1,000 or 100,000 of small companies. They do breeding is not so efficient. Technology is not so high because small companies don't have money to do a lot of investment in research. So that's our big problem we're talking about later. In acreage, we're just talking about big province, Heilongjiang is here, Henan is here. So we have different, looks like a cone belt, not like a USA, we just one belt. We are talking about next slides. It looks like we have at least 3. There's one belt here, there's one belt here, there's one belt here. So next slide will tell you more details. So in China, we have big 4 areas: northeast, Huanghe, and southwest China, northwest China. This area, because the more water available now, this area is the most fast growing area in China. In near future, they'll pass the southeast China or even the Huanghe area, become second in the maybe near future, 5 or 10 years. That's my guess. So from left chart, we can see that in USA, most of cone belt is between 38 and 43. In China, we goes to 46, and south goes to 21, over tropical area. So if we only use US germplasm, most of them from China is US germplasm anyway. Maybe it's not good for Southwest China and Northeast China. We need to develop our own germplasms. Or look at the yield in China and USA. This is a competition anyway. We don't count this one. If you consider average, normal national average, our yield per unit is about 6% of USA. It's far behind the USA. This is our big problem here now. There's also great potential for us to improve our unit yield per unit. This China seed market just show you that keep increase before 2010 looks like increase quickly, then go to looks like plateau. But that's data a little bit old. We didn't find a good and government data yet. But we know in 2002 we reached about 500. So that means in last 5 years we also go quickly in yield production. This can be verified, confirmed by principal approved or national approved varieties. We could look at from 2010, the Prince improved varieties keep growing at several years, 2017, 18, 19. National improved also increasing. This introduction record, that means if one province improved one variety, they can be planted in another province, introduced to another province. So this is called a record introduction. That means among province, you can plant it anywhere if you get permission there. So this is the official number for variety protection record. Total number of application keep increasing, and total number of proving or authorized approved is also increasing. Also, we see that every year about half of them get approved. Anyway, for 2022, we still have about 900, increased only a little bit in recent years. So what's the problem facing by Chinese now? First, we already know that our yield per unit is low. That's about 60% of USA yield. Second big problem we facing is that in China, we usually have labor-intensive cultivation in Southeast and Huanghai place. We only have machinized harvesting, planting in Northeast China and Northwest China. For this area, our varieties is not adapted to high density of planting. There's also big limitation for Chinese yield improving. So that's one big problem. Second problem is the labor-intensive area. People intend to put more fertilizers, more chemicals. This lead to cost increase, also not only, but also make pollutions become worse and worse. This second question, problems. Another problem is that with the improvement of Chinese living standard, animal farming is become more and more important. So previously we have corn production is not aimed for this kind of animal farming. So we know demand a more diversified, high quality maize. So where we go? First we need to more basic genetic researches. We, as a scientists, geneticists or breeders, we need to answer a lot of questions like how many QTN gene control trait, how much genetics effect on each gene has, how many alleles and frequency for each genes. Also, another question we need to ask, what's the heterosis underlying reasons, underlying series? How the genetic knowledge applied for improving crossing, improving efficiency. Also, genetic-based elasticity, because genotype environment interaction is very important factor we need to consider. So that's the basic, the solid research we need in the future. That's from scientific research. In China, genetic narrowness is a big problem. There's two lines, Zhendan 958 and XY335. They doesn't occupy about 85% of genetics related to Chinese hybrids released in China. This is a big problem. Also, US germplasm, from this chart we can see, relate to our hybrids inbred line 77%. In Chinese, only about 25 or 23 is the local ones. So this also big problem is genetic narrowness. So what's the problem for this one? Because our variety is more sensitive to diseases, pests, and other abiotic stresses. This lead to yield limiting for our corn productions. So anyway, recently in our team, especially in Southwest China, in our team we find very interesting exotic germplasm from tropical area. The advantage of this tropical germplasm is the highest stress resistance, not only drought tolerance, also lodging resistance and disease resistance, and also the high yield and good qualities. This germplasm like a strong root and good color people like. Also, the stay green for longer and good for animals and food productions. What's the problem for this new germplasm? First one is a photocure sensitive. That means if you're planting this plant in North China or Central China, they're not flow. They don't have a flow. So we need a transition time. So our Southwest China is an ideal place for domestication this kind of new germplasm from tropical. Another important problem or limitation is that when we have a tropical lines come here, we find that they can cross with normal Chinese lines. Some lines very good yield, some lines not very good yield. We don't know which heterolite group they belong to. So this also is a limitation for using this tropical germplasm. Major germplasm, subtropical germplasm, we know that there's several groups like a torpedo, swan, Catito, Argentina, ETO, and etc. By many of the years research, starting from late 90s and early of the centuries, we find Swan 1 is very, very good tropical germplasm for us to use. Because they're processing a lot of great value that temperate maize don't have, like adaptation, resistant to diseases and drought tolerance, lodging, and also have good qualities. Well, this is just a few of the characters of swan populations. So by our practice, we found that when we use swan with non-red and red group of lines, they can produce many good varieties, high yield, high quality. So Ringri 1 and 88, 520, and 408, just a few examples. You can see this, the high yield, they're very good productions. So this is a farm of swan. This is we working there. This is some of a picture when we working in the swan farmers. So by many years research from late 90s, we found that swan hybrids or populations is good. We developed domestication of this population and developed many good inbred lines. This is just performance of inbred lines. That's just our research papers. If you somebody interested, you can go look at this research. We found that new varieties from this triangle, we call it triangle histological patterns. We developed more than 20 new hybrids. And also our breeding efficiency greatly improved instead of using 2 histological pattern groups. There's just a few examples to show you how good it is. Let's show you that this is a great leaf spot resistance. This is with tropical germplasm. This is our local. And from this chart, we can see with transgenic from tropical germplasm, the disease score always low in almost every process. There's another example for quality proteins. There's a really one protein increase, yield increased, and also field performance increase, become better. There's another example for co-proteins and good starch hybrids, really 3, they can be used for animal feed. Another example for high Pro-VA, there's good hybrids, not there's Pro-VA contents increase, also yield increase, resistance increase. This was noticed by some international organization. They try to cooperation with us and try to introduce Africa. We have some cooperation with them now. So that's just a few examples of hybrids, show you the pictures and nice feature for on the ear. So then next 2 questions, some our colleagues and some colleagues from North China ask us, is that amazing breeding in tropical equal to pre-breeding of temperature line? We answer yes. So for any kind of lines, tropical germplasm used by North China, Southwest China is area we need to maybe do some more domestication, then can be shifting, moving to the North China. The second question is that tropical germplasm adapt to temperature by gene editing. We say gene editing only may be suitable for some qualitative trait like disease resistance with major gene, also high oil proteins with major gene available. So summary, China is a top milk producer in the world, there's no doubt. So we just a second and just behind the USA. Yield per unit is much lower. This is not good. That's our potential also. Third, many challenges of Chinese breeders, like we have mechanization, we lack of a variety for high density production. Animal farming is growing. We need a lot of diversified maize hybrids for meet their needs. And we found that tropical germplasm is important, especially strong groups. We're building triangle pictorial patterns. This pattern is good in our practice, approved by our practice. We have more than 20 hybrids developed and approved and planted in Southwest China, some in North China also. Based on our experience, introgressing level for tropical germplasm to our central north region germplasm is about 10%. So based on practice, we found that breeding efficiency greatly improved by using triangle histological pattern. This is some pictures just for share with you. We have shared this kind of triangle genetic pattern with different meetings. There's 2 meetings. Also, we still keep very good connection with strong groups. We try to induce more germ pattern from there in the future. Thank you. Any question?
Thank you very much for your comprehensive and valuable presentation, Professor Dr. Fan. Professor Fan, please stay with us for question and answer. Now the floor is open for question, comments, and suggestion. Linda, please.
Thank you so much for your impressive presentation. Our first question is because you mentioned the heterosis. I think this is very interesting one, especially for the breeding. We all know the corn is the quite good model for the heterosis. And in the beginning, you mentioned the PCA analysis. So I was wondering what the data used to find out the heterosis, the different groups. Is used the phenotyping data or genotyping data? And the further question is about, well, we all know the corn already the good model. So the question is, other crop can use heterosis or not, especially for the vegetable crop. So as I know, already a lot of the research or scientists are doing this, for example, for the tomato, but somehow still not find a very strong heterosis. So I was wondering if you have any idea, comment, or opinion for how to find out and figure out if the crop have the heterosis, the potential. Thank you.
Linda. Professor Fan, please.
First question, we use a phenotypical. We usually use to by they called combinability analysis, and also based on yield and the specific combinability to make the final heterosis. And for heterosis patterns, we usually try to cross because we already have.
All right. So
Gona, any problem?
yes, it seems that there's connection issue with Dr. Fan. So
Disconnected.
yes, he got disconnected.
I
I
go
think,
for next
well,
presentation?
yes,
Can I
let
go
us
for next
move to the next presentation and please hold your question. I think it is a very interesting presentation. Thank you. Please, the co-chair.
Okay, if you have any question, answer, please hold. We try to reconnect. Okay, thank you very much. Our next presenter.
I'm sorry, the co-chair, Professor Fan is back.
Back already?
Professor Fan, can you hear us? Professor Fan, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, right. So could you please proceed with your answer one more
First
time?
question is that we use phenotypic data to find heterosis, not the molecular data. Of course, we have some molecular research papers also. We can say we combine with this information to find heterosis and heterological patterns. For second question, I think every crop maybe have potential find heterosis, but we just don't do a lot of research in tomatoes or other vegetables. We know a lot of vegetables like peppers and some melons, a lot of heterosis there. If enough research come on, we'll find it. That's my answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next question, please.
Hi, can you hear me? Yeah, I think it's working. So this is Gao Mingzhu from WaySeed. We have a main office in Beijing, so we do cross-border crop registration services for seed companies. So I think in your presentation you mentioned about incorporating some creatives new in like tropical germplasm. Well, let's say that that's not a typical way that breeders they bring up new varieties, right? This is more of a creative way of breeding. That's I mean, most professors or like agriculture university they do that, or sometimes we call it like 种质资源创新. Well, because for what we do breed that we need to, when you get a new germplasm, we need to make thousands of groups and takes years to finally get the product. So I think what you mentioned is very interesting, that it's always a good way to bring up the new germplasm. But the point is that how can we make sure that that germplasm is indeed useful without distracting the breeders, to put more attention on just do something randomly, because that's not a commercial crop breeders or company do. So what would be your comment on this? I mean, being a creative is a good thing, but it's not that easy thing, right?
Okay, thank
Thanks.
you. Dr. Professor Fan, please.
Okay, your question is a good question. Actually, this is also a good question and also a lot of discussion in China. Well, what corn can be classified as how many heterological groups? There's always discussion there, always maybe discrimination, different opening there. In Southeast China, this environment, I think, is big difference from Central or Northwest or Northeast China. The environment also big difference. In tropical area, they own a lot of good characters, like we already present here, like disease resistant, high quality, and also stay green is also good. So we found this germplasm by a lot of you can see our papers. We do more than 20 years for this kind of analysis. We find like that. There's different, but it's not belong to like China and South PA heterodic group or PB heterodic group or Huangzhou group or Liusheng group, Liuda group. It's not belong to that group. Also not belong to read and non-read groups. So complete is belong to, we think, based on our analysis, phenotypically and molecularly, is belong to different heterodic groups. That's just our opening. Also approved, confirmed our breeding practice. Most of our hybrid, good yield hybrids is belong to this kind of heterodic patterns.
Thank you. Any other question, please? Yes. Maybe the last question, because we are already 8 minutes behind.
Sorry, I make it.
Yes, it's okay.
It's working? Okay, thanks.
Okay.
I'll make it brief. Mine is a very brief question. My name is Chris Ojeo from Summit in Nairobi. And my question is, in the light of changing climates, what do you see as a priority in terms of potential changes in corn agronomy and the reaction of breeders? Where should breeders be thinking in terms of changing climates, developing varieties that will fit in the changing agronomies that address the changing climates and that utilizes this idea of heterosis? Over.
Thank you. Professor Van, please.
Okay. You know that heterosis or hybrids always have more elasticity to the environment than the inbred. So when we do the hybrid breeding, we always consider use different kind of germplasm. Like so, if you have hybrid from tropical and a temperate area, a hybrid is usually more elastic to environment. That means GY interaction is almost all stable or much more stable than in a normal crossing if you use two invert line from north or maybe central, like American germplasm, or temperate lines only from if two lines only from temporal lines, maybe elasticity is lower. If you have a line from tropical and temporal line, the elasticity will be good. That means G by interaction will be more stable. That's all of me.
Thank you very much, Professor Fang, for your valuable presentation. Thank you, and with a big clap.
Thank you.
Now, our next presenter is Dr. Ajay Panchabhai, Regional Breeding Seed System and Product Management Lead, Africa, International Rice Research Institute, IRI, Nairobi, Kenya. Dr. Ajay, please, your time is 25 minutes only.
Thank you, Dr. Ali. Good afternoon. I get 25 minutes, right? Well, so my name is Ajay Panchabhai. You must be thinking, in the gathering of private seed sector people, what CGR is doing. Well, so we are not here for the business, but we are here for the reason. And this reason actually is, our smallholder farmers. So like many of you may know that CGIR, we are mainly into research and also into dissemination. But then the common ground that we strike between the private sector and also the research institute like ours is that how best we can join hands together to make sure that our farmers are getting improved varieties, our farmers will get the quality seed. With that, many of you also might have heard about something called 1CGIR. I mean, this is recent. I mean, this is comparatively new, 1CGIR. I mean, although CGIR itself is not new, but then 1CGIR in principle is relatively new. And under this 1CGIR, we have come up with various initiatives. And one of those initiatives, which is actually focusing on seed systems, essentially strengthening seed systems, which is like seed delivery part, is called Seed Equal. So, well, so the way we have really arrived at this 1CGIR strategy is we have had, very in-depth consultation, and which actually, ran across 77 countries, and we received responses from about like 1,300 participants. And through that consultative process, now we have something called CGIR 2030, and that's our vision, that's our strategy, and which is converging towards impacting the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Well, through this consultation or through this strategy, now what we have is about 3 action areas. As you can see over there, we have something called system transformation. We also have genetic innovation. We have resilient agri-food systems initiatives. And in the middle of all of that, we also have some regional initiatives or regionally integrated initiatives. Well, I'm really not going to go into too much details, but probably I'll just try to focus on genetic innovation because and that could be something which could be of interest of this group, because in genetic innovation, that's where the seed equal lies. Well, this is how the genetic innovation is structured. Again, I'm not really going to go deep into that. But then, as you can see, gene bank, plant breeding and pre-breeding, which is so important, breeding resources or breeding research services. And then lastly, it's called strategy, delivery, and scaling. And that's exactly where the market intelligence and seed equal, which is seed system, actually lies. And everything has got its own importance. I mean, these are all very interlinked pillars, because without gene bank, you cannot really improve you cannot develop the improved varieties. If there are no improved varieties, then we cannot really take it, those things to the down to the farmers. Well, so while we have all the strategy in place, while we have all the action items and action plans in place, But then I think it's also equally important to understand that whenever we are talking about the system, or whenever we are talking about improved variety, so that vision or that action plan has to be end to end, has to be very, very comprehensive, right? So whenever we are talking about seed delivery, so it, without saying, it also goes that we start at the market intelligence level. So I mean, like, for a very, very long time, we were not so keenly looking into the market demand. But now, if you look at our strategy, not just for this broad strategy, but then if you look at the center level strategy as well, we go by market demand. And under that market demand, we have very systematic approach, something called market segmentation, and then product profiles or product concepts for each of those market segments, which also means that we take care of market demands and then develop the varieties which are as per market demand, and then make sure that those varieties actually go to the at the downstream level, which is delivery. Well, this is not new, because the gathering over here, they have been into seed sector for many, many years. These are the challenges that we often find. I mean, the only difference could be that the place where we are standing now, and the place where we come from. I'm based in Nairobi, and so my colleague Chris, who spoke just before that, in one of the questions in previous session, or previous presentation, he also is in Nairobi. So the challenges that we have in this part of the world and the challenges that we have in Africa are different. I mean, in sometimes those are different in nature. Sometimes those are different just in scale. Like, for example, I mean, just to get very, very briefly, companies from, let's say, from Asia or Asia Pacific for that matter, they know very well that how to handle OPV business. But then that is not the case for us back in Africa, which means that the engagement and engagement and interest from the companies coming from Africa in OPV segment is very low. While that is not the case for hybrid segment, but then for OPV segment, that is the case. So we have fragmented seed value chain, which I think which is known to everybody. We have very poor product differentiation, and like very poor very poor awareness about the returns to the farmers and also the returns to the industry. We have lack of robust data, lack of expertise as well, and then we also have very ineffective extension and marketing mechanism. And as I mentioned, this could be, I mean, this could be different in scale for Africa, and this could be relatively easy for Asia maybe, but I think the challenges are there. And this is exactly why we come into picture. SIG, as I mentioned, this is like one of those initiatives which was very, very strategically thought out to strengthen seed systems. And although I'm sounding like I'm focusing more on Africa, but this initiative, SIG, is actually has a global mandate. So our goal is to accelerate varietal turnover, quality seed use, and the realization of the genetic gains. I think we spoke so much about genetic gains, but then realizing those genetic gains at the farmer's field is our prime objective. And how are we going to do that? I mean, of course, there are various other mechanisms, but then our primary route is that we want to modernize CGIR's role in seed system development, especially in seed delivery and scaling. And secondly, we want to ensure that the genetic gains that we are talking about, and it's a huge potential. If you look at the some of those varieties, we have heard so many examples where the best of the best varieties are not actually making to the farmers' fields. So we really want to ensure that the genetic gains reach the disadvantaged group of people, and especially women and youth. And how are we going to measure that? I mean, just like industry, we also have KPIs, and some of our very important KPIs is that we want to see reduced average varietal age in farmers' field, and we also want to see increased seed replacement rate, and also increased seed replacement rate in the farmers' field. Now, so seed as I have been mentioning about it, so it has got various components, and these three components, they are mainly crop specific or commodity specific, and the next four are cross-cutting. Like, for example, the first one is about cereals, second one is about legumes, third one actually is RTB, we call it, or we can call it, vegetatively propagated crops. Fourth one, which as you can see, it's like coordination for impact. So this is where we are developing, a lot of partnerships, across the value chain, across the seed chain. And this is also, so under this work package or under this component, we are also dealing with the capacity building part. Seed policy, which is so important, and we have like, dedicated component for seed policy, because, in many cases, if we could really take care of the seed policy or appropriate seed policy, then I think the advantage that has to go to the farmers level will be, very, very faster. We have one separate component which actually takes care of the equitable access, because often we hear that the women, for example, even youth, there's like very low level of interest and engagement from the from youth. So how can we make sure that this disadvantaged group or this, let's say, marginalized group can get into the mainstream of seed business? So that is the equitable access. And the last one, which is even relatively new for even for us as well, and this is about emergency seed, and how can we come into picture when it comes to the humanitarian areas and so on. Well, so for this gathering, I really would like to focus on the public-private partnership and what are the channels and mechanism for that. This is the, I mean, I think all of us know very, very well the importance of partnership. It's not new. And especially in seed sector, if we are not really, up for partnership, then probably we are just, playing somewhere just alone, and we are not making any difference. As you can see, the central dogma, right from the trait mining or right from pre-breeding all the way up to the varietal development, and then after that the seed delivery. Is it still working or? Yeah, all the way up to seed delivery. So we need partnership at each and every stage of this central dogma, whether it is pre-breeding or the main varietal development, or whether it is seed delivery, right? Now, the importance of partnership from this perspective or from seed equals perspective is even more important at the right-hand side of this this central dogma, which is basically public-private partnership. And very strategically also, we are trying to move the public-private partnership, which is so heavy on the right-hand side currently, as you can see. And then the research side, which is CGIAR and national partners, they're so heavy on the left-hand side. But very strategically, we're also planning to move this PPP slightly towards left-hand side, which also means that as early as possible, I think the private sector should get involved into the into this central dogma. And especially to talk about the seed chain, the private sector partnership has to start at the even at the EGS level, early generation seed level, not just at the certified seed level. Well, so this is just to give an example of some of those initiatives or partnerships that CIGIAR CIDEQUAL is working on. International Seed Federation, we were there as a group in Cape Town during the World Seed Congress. And Kaula is here, Juan is here, even Santosh is here. And I'm very proud also to say that together with ISF, we are actually building very constructive partnership, and very soon we'll be signing an MOU with ISF. Likewise, we are working with AGRA, that's Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa. Likewise, African Union, which is very, very important body. And my colleague Chris is actually one of the, he is the chair of one of the subunits or one of the working bodies under AU, African Union. APSA, I mean, this is the gathering for that. And I'm also proud to say, and I think Shivendra is here already, but then we are working with APSA as well. And we are actually exploring a couple of areas, technical areas. And very soon, we also will be having some working partnership under CIDEQUAL, with APSA. That will be complemented also will be, with the MOU. Likewise, APSA's counterpart in Africa, that's called APSTA, African Seed Trade Association. We are also, working with those guys. Likewise, some of those, national level seed association, like, one for Rwanda, STAC, which is Seed Trade Association for Kenya. And, so in addition to all of these organizations, we are also part of some of the initiatives. It's called Seeds for Food Coalition, and this was brought to us by ISF. And we are very proud to be part of this initiative as well. This is the one that, and then you can see the CIDEQUAL team in the photo. But actually, so this comes from the Cape Town meeting, World Seed Congress meeting, and this was just like one of them. But then we had many meetings like that. All right. So what are the mechanism? What are the avenues for PPP? Whenever we say like, PPP and we are having, working relationship and MOU and all that. But, how does that boil down when it comes to the mechanism, when it comes to the avenues? So this is how it looks like. So we are developing common understanding of the SIG regulatory and policy framework. Not that we can influence at, each and every level, but then being the CG Institute, what we can really bring to the table is that the evidence, database evidence. And based on that evidence, we as a group, whether it is ISF or APSA or APSTA, we can definitely go to the policymakers or, to take those evidences to the policymakers and influence at that level. Second thing, we are trying to create opportunities to maintain common platform, for example, variety licensing. Now, like for example, in my individual capacity, I represent ERI. Some of our, so likewise, there are, multiple centers and there are multiple mechanisms. Each center has its own mechanism, but then through CDQL, what we are trying to do is to really, form a common mechanism wherein anybody through, let's say through APSA, through APSTA, or through ISF, if you would like to access, any germplasm or for any crop for that matter. So this could be a single window system for that. We're also facilitating partnership for seed delivery and especially, keeping in view the smallholder farmers. And then capacity building is very, very important because, as I mentioned, our mandate for us is global, Asia as well as Africa. Oops, sorry. Okay, that is still okay. So mandate for us is global, which means Asia and Africa. But then there are differences. Like for example, capacity building is so critical, so crucial for us in Africa. And how can we really, bring our African seed sector up to the mark by learning from Asian seed sector, and likewise, even Asian seed sector can, find opportunities in Africa. So capacity building is so critical for us. This is just to show the working relationship or working partnerships in South Asia for CDQL. We have so many, so many projects going on, so many partnerships going on in South Asia, likewise in Asia Pacific as well. And these are like, as you can see, these are the number of initiatives or number of projects which are currently ongoing under CDQL. And this is just to show that there are working models, as I mentioned just now, that there are, various mechanisms. Each center has its own mechanism. And then under CDQL, we are trying to, bring all those various routes under single window system. Now, on your left, the graph that you can see on your screen is actually Hybrid Rice Development Consortium, which is led by ERI. And this is like one of the oldest consortium. As you can see, we started in 2008. And as you see, 2023 number, we have 91 partners coming from private sector as well as from the public sector as well. And on your right is the example that is coming from CIMIT, and my colleague Vivek is going to take another presentation on that. So I may not be able to, or I want to leave that to Vivek to explain because he has separate presentation on that. But I think all in all, what we want to convey here is that we have very well sorted out mechanism for non-exclusive licensing. At the same time, there is something called limited exclusive licensing as well. So that limited exclusivity could be geographic, or limited exclusivity also could be time bound. But then through various mechanisms, we can really, partner with the private sector under those categories. This is just one example. I mean, we really don't need to stress importance of quality seed to this group, but then this becomes extremely important when we talk somewhere outside, because still, like for example, Africa, we are still talking about imperfect market where the seed still comes from about like 80 to 90% seed still comes from the farmer managed system, and it's very difficult to make them also understand the importance of the quality seed. Although not for the this group, as I already mentioned. As you can see on this slide, this example comes from Tanzania, and if you look at just the same varieties, for example, the variety 1 or variety 2, and then when you look at the adoption of the quality seed versus the farmer managed system, the average yield gain is about 81%. Average yield gain is about 81%. I mean, this is the situation, although this example is from Tanzania, but this is the situation which is pretty much the same in the rest of the countries in Africa. Well, so this looks complicated, but please don't worry about it. So the central dogma for this for this slide is actually, so this example again is coming from Tanzania, and the central dogma is the Youth, Women and Quality Center, and this is one example where CGIAR is trying to create an initiative where everybody across the SIG chain, public, private, NGO, everybody, even CGIAR are actually part of it. Now, in this case, the kind of like NGO or initiative, which is comprising youth and women. So they are the ones who are linked to, even at the upstream level, they're linked to the private sector people. They're also linked to the national, national research partners. For example, in this case, it is TARI, Tanzania Agricultural Research Institute. So these people, this group is actually very critical part of seed chain, because what they produce is something called QDS, quality declared seed. And QDS is a very systematic approach to push from the completely informal or farmer managed system towards certified seed system. Because if you're talking about, let's say, informal market chain or informal market, like for example Africa, which is 90% still comes from farmer managed system, to envision that this 90% will turn into formal seed system just like that, it's not going to happen. So you have to have some very systematic intermediary mechanism. And then this kind of initiative gives that intermediary mechanism. And this is another iconic example also of PPP, public-private partnership. So this group is very well linked to the private sector at the upstream level to access the quality seed. And this group also is very well linked at the downstream level, because they're linked to the off-takers. And this is, I think, this I guess is my second last slide, so I'll not take much time. This is again the SID, one of the SID business model or SID system model, wherein we're also taking care of some of those emergencies or humanitarian relief. As you can see, basically SID can be utilized multiple ways, right? And then it could be used for own purposes. It could be exchange. It could be put on the market like you guys do. But then importantly also, and which is also one of the critical avenues for SID equal, is that how do we take care of some of those emergencies, some of those, let's say, humanitarian intervention. May not be so much critical for Asia, but it is extremely critical for Africa. This is my last slide. So what we really envision is to really have end-to-end system, strengthening SID system, basically with the help of robust policies. At the same time, inclusive delivery pathways, and that's exactly where the public-private partnership, especially with this group, is so critical. As I mentioned, yeah, PPP is very important, and that is already the integral part of our agenda. And lastly, we also generate a lot of evidences, as I already mentioned. And with the help of these evidences, what we can do as a group is that we can actually this matrix can actually monitor and inform the new investments in new markets. I mean, there are a lot of opportunities in Africa. There are a lot of opportunities in Asia as well, right? But we need to know which crop, which market segment for that matter, and how are we going to really make inroads to the market. So the data, a lot of data that we work on through our research activities can actually help in that direction. With that, I think I will stop it here, and thank you so much for your patient hearing, and I'll be happy to take if there are any questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ajay Panchabhai, for your very comprehensive and valuable presentation. Please stay on the stage for question and answer. So now the house is open for question, comments, or suggestion, please.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for your presentation. I have a question. I haven't seen in your presentation at what time you sign an SMTA, because you are using genetic resources from the CG centers. And with these genetic resources, you are making some breeding. So normally you have to sign an SMTA. So this is my question. And my remark is, you in your private-public partnership, you have something with the role in blue of SIG centers, which is decreasing, and in red you have the private sector, which is increasing. And this scheme is very a problem for me because in your scheme, it's the role of the private sector to register varieties and to commercialize. And if we have this problem in Africa regarding the improvement of varieties, seeds, and it's because of states, because all the states in Africa, they have policies against new varieties, against registration, against private seed companies. And we need your help. So if you retire at the time we need your help, it's a problem for us. We need that you will take a big part of the lobbying to show to the governments that they need to have regulation which will not be against the seed quality and against the genetic progress.
Well, thank you so much. So your first question is about SMTA, I guess, right? Standard Material Transfer Agreement. And as you all know, that this is the mandatory step as per the treaty, right? And through all of those germplasm transfer mechanism, whether it is HRDC or whether it is IMEC, for each and every germplasm transfer, we have to sign SMTA, right? And nowadays it is just simple, I think, electronic alignment, and which is still okay. Which is still okay with treaty as well. So that's number one. Number two, regarding your, ease to operate, I guess if I could just summarize your question, like is to do business in Africa, right? Well, so I think on that front, that's exactly where, this partnership with APSA, but then more importantly, in that context, the partnership with APSA also will come handy. I fully understand that. I think still we will have to improve a lot when it comes to the policy space in Africa. For example, DUS testing in Africa is still a mandatory part of varietal release. Whereas DUS, I mean, if you look at scientifically, DUS DUS is very closely linked to IP, may not be so closely linked to release. This is just one example, but then, yeah, so there are few areas where surely we will have to create data. We'll have to, let's say, create evidences and maybe take those to the regulators and say, okay, probably here is the chance or here is an opportunity where the regulatory process could be streamlined. Now, I think you also mentioned that the policies are anti-varietal release. Well, I'm not sure if I would agree completely to that. It's not probably anti-varietal release, right? In most of the countries where SIG is working on, so we have policies where varieties could be released. Now, from our perspective, we are also working very, very closely with the national partners. So all these CGIR varieties, in addition to the public-private partnership, we also share our research outcome with the national partners, and they are the ones who are like seamlessly registering varieties. But at the same time, even the private sector are registering their varieties.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other question, please? I think no.
But yes, I mean, in some countries, process could be lengthy. I understand, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ajay Panchubhai, with a big club. Our next and last speaker, Dr. B.S. Bibek, Regional Maize Breeding Coordinator, Asia, and Principal Scientist, International Maize Wheat Improvement Center, CIMIT. Your time also 25 minutes, please.
Thank you. I know I'm between you and the cocktail, so I'm under pressure, but I'll try to finish quick. Good evening, all of you. And first of all, thank you, Dr. Chua and the Secretariat and APSA organizers for having invited me here. really appreciate this podium. I think it's very important in terms of dispersing some of the message that I'd like to give in the next half an hour. Right, so Ajay has given an overview of the 1CGAR and the SEED systems initiative. And now I'll go more specific to MAISE and the consortium, the public-private consortium that we have, and it's been running for the last many years. So as you can see over here, we started out in 2010. That's about 13 years back. The International Maize Improvement Consortium for Asia, or IMIC Asia, phase 1, with the purpose of having an intensive engagement with maize R&D institutions. So if you are a seed company or an institute that is doing maize breeding, you are in the right place, in the right room. Okay, so but the focus was, of course, on the private seed companies that had a breeding component. And we wanted to deliver impact to development of hybrid maize for targeted priorities. And that came with an annual membership fee, and I will tell you why and how much and so on. But that really brought in commitment, accountability, focus in our breeding work, and we were able to track the impact. Okay, so following phase 1, we went into phase 2. Okay, from 2017, with a renewed commitment, we had reoriented focus, and we redesigned the activities from the learnings from phase 1. We had over 20 seed companies, plus the Indian maize program over there. And here, more specifically, we said, okay, we want to focus on market segments. And to focus on market segments, partners wanted commercially viable inbred lines. So that was where the renewed focus was on. And then now we are into phase 3, which started in January 2021. We had a field day. We have one field day every 2 years. And this last one was in March 2022. We had over 97 partners participating. We distributed 767 unique lines. I guess, is the pointer working? Maybe not. Anyway, over nearly 7,000 packets of those lines were distributed to both the public and the Indian private sector, mainly SME seed companies. Okay, so this is a pictorial of the general body meeting that is usually held on the same day of the field day, usually in the afternoon of the field day. Okay, what is IMIC? It's essentially a platform for distribution of germplasm, what we call as materials under development. These are not fully finished inbred lines, but pre-finished. We want to be able to give out the germplasm to our partners. Okay, so diverse and elite inbreds breeding sources for partner identified priorities, not donor identified priorities. Here is where the difference is. Earlier, we used to work on donor priorities, but now it's the seed partner, the seed company priorities for maize market segments, which are specifically identified. So germplasm sharing. So through this, we are enhancing, guaranteeing, and prioritizing availability of high-value maize breeding source germplasm. And this is an era where germplasm is very difficult to find, as some of the earlier speakers alluded to, especially Dr. Fan. And just to give you an idea, CIMMYT has something known as CIMMYT maize lines, or CMLs, which are freely available to anybody. In the last 10 years, we have released about 13. The number is revised to about 18 CMLs that anybody could freely get. Compare that with over 5,000 lines that we have distributed through this consortium. So the freely available germplasm is, just 0.24% of all the lines that's available through IMIC. So that's an important reason why somebody would be a member of the consortium. Okay, so CIMMYT, we are getting into germplasm deployment, but we don't have the strengths. Okay, it's the private sector, the private sector that has been doing it, and we want to partner with you. And so through this consortium, what we believe we can do is we can complement each other's strengths. A little bit more on that in the next slide. But here we also want to make a level playing ground for all the seed partners, big and small companies, through giving an equitable chance for small companies to build a maize hybrid business. And of course, as we generate resources, it's common breeding that we do. And with this, there is cost sharing for the benefit of everybody involved. Okay, it's a win-win situation for everyone through this. And to meet these objectives, we designed various activities and supportive processes. Okay, so we have hybrid evaluation networks, we do capacity building, and thereafter, we evolved into giving some value-added services like QA/QC for genotyping, with disease phenotyping for very tough diseases that each partner cannot really invest in. Drought phenotyping, which requires some expertise. Root phenotyping, double haploid line development service. That's the newest of the value-added services that we have. Partners submit their population suite, derive DH lines, and return it back to the partner. Okay, so these are the current list of partners, and over here, Greenworld Genetics and Unique Seed Company, they're the newest entrants. Okay, so a little bit more on why you would want to join the consortium. Okay, first of all, complementation of comparative advantages. I mentioned various activities which are partner demanded, and we have market segment-based breeding, and the trait priorities are set by partners, availability of breeding germplasm, and not just that, availability of diverse germplasm and various activities to cater to the diverse needs of the different seed partners. Okay, so that's important. So we are trying to cater to different needs of partners through this consortium. Okay, so here, this is how we do the complementation. CIMMYT has strength with the diverse germplasm through its gene bank, over 25 or 28,000 accessions. We have elite stress-resilient germplasm for drought, heat, waterlogging, low nitrogen, and so on. We have a track record in training on different topics, and we have a network of national partners and private seed companies. And as I mentioned before, we are here trying to reach the farmer. That's not our traditional advantage. And so what we are saying is through seed companies, whether they are small, medium, or big, whether they are national, regional, or multinational, we want to deliver improved stress-resilient maize source germplasm. We want to do capacity building, training, and we have developed a multi-location hybrid evaluation network. We want to give out CIMMYT ready-made or pre-commercial hybrids that companies can market, and of course the value-added services. So it's just not germplasm, it's much more than germplasm. It's divided into 3 sub-projects. One is, other than the germplasm, for very specific drought, waterlogging, and basically stress vulnerable regions, fascia. We have training on need-based technologies, data management, and as I mentioned, various value-added services. Okay, so this is the market segmentation that we have, and we have listed the different traits and what's the focus for each of these markets. This is very important to mention over here, because somebody mentioned that some of the germplasm that they were getting from CIMMYT historically is not working in their country. But here is what I say, here what germplasm you will get is more targeted and focused, unlike the germplasm that you used to get 20 years back from Mexico. Breeding was done there and some lines were sent, and sure enough, they're very less likely to work in such a case. But here, this is breeding being done in Hyderabad for the different agroecologies and stresses of Asia. Okay, so this is the big difference over here. Okay, again, partner prioritization of traits. This is not donor prioritization. We have a general body meeting where we get the inputs from partners and we come down with a short list of traits that this particular consortium will focus on. Okay, so as I mentioned before, drought, heat, excess moisture, biotic stresses, post-flowering stalk rots, BLSP, Persicum leaf blight, fall armyworm, that's the latest one that we are working on. And of course, not to forget high yields under optimal conditions. That's always there, that's a given. You can't have stress resilient germplasm, which in an optimal year won't work for the farmer. No, the base is good high yielding germplasm, and when there is stress, the germplasm should guarantee some kind of a minimum yield for the farmer. All right, so coming to maize source germplasm, okay, these are the various ways that partners and startup breeding programs could source the germplasm through germplasm bank accessions at CIMMYT, but again, they're far removed because starting from accessions, you will take a long time to come to commercial viability. There are national programs and like the Kasetsart University that do sell lines, so you can purchase from them. IITA, the International Institute for Tropical Agriculture, sister institute of CIMMYT under the one SIG, they do have OPVs and lines on SMTA, but again, they are in West Africa, their focus is West Africa. US off PVP lines that Dr. Fan mentioned about, those are again readily, freely available from the USDA sources. Business to business licensing, of course, that you're very familiar with. What's very common is the selfing of commercial or heterotic hybrids. And of course, this is subject to country laws, but you can invoke plant breeders' rights and so on. But again, from a genetics point of view, that's not really recommended. You may get a good per se line, but where is the combiner for that particular line? Of course, coming to CIMMYT, we have CMLs or CIMMYT maize lines, which is a gold standard for lines, very few in number. I already talked about it. We license CIMMYT hybrids, whether it's exclusive or non-exclusive. The hybrid combination is confidential. The inbred remains international public good. So we give out these hybrid combinations along with the inbreds free of cost, but we don't reveal what combinations make a particular hybrid. So that's only between CIMMYT and the particular partner. You could also go in for sub-licensing some CIMMYT hybrids through universities and so on. And the big one is the materials under development, the working germplasm. Where do you get that from? It's through this consortium. Okay, it's no longer free. And as I mentioned, close to 5,500 inbred lines have been distributed to partners in the last 12 or 13 years. Okay, so diversity of germplasm from tropical Asian drought, heat, and waterlogging tolerant germplasm through introgression of US corn belt germplasm and US gem germplasm, disease resistance. We have Eastern and Southern Africa mid-altitude drought-tolerant germplasm, which have been introgressed and brought into the Asian germplasm base. We have Mexican subtropical, tropical lowland, and tropical highland germplasm, South American acid soil resistant tolerant germplasm from there. We have the Cuban flints, which have the FOR resistance in them. Male sterility, we introduced that very recently through IMIC. Of course, we have introgressed Suwan. We have used Suwan germplasm in this particular base. We do inter-agroecological adaptation, breeding crosses between these agroecological zones and derive lines out of it. West Africa, IITA germplasm. We have introduced brown midrib BMR donors into our field days. We have a little bit of specialty corn that's not a focus though. Okay, we cater to the diverse needs. Big companies want unique traits. They want segregating materials. Medium-sized companies want unique traits within viable germplasm breeding background, segregating or fixed, doesn't matter. And inbred lines for joint hybrid combinations with lines that they may have already developed. And small companies want ready-made CIMIT combinations and elite lines, finished lines. Okay, so very diverse needs, and we are catering to all these different needs. Okay, just a pictorial from one of the field days held back in, this is from 2020. I've already mentioned the figures on display over here. Going on to capacity development, we have had over 20 courses for the last years. We target about one training course every year, maybe more, on a range of topics: maize breeding, precision phenotyping, that needs some expertise and training, double haploidy, the newest one, quantitative methods, statistics, statistical methods, that's very popular among a lot of companies, including the big companies, data management, fall armyworm tolerance, breeding for that, seed systems, nutrition. And so we have trained over 350 participants across different projects that we have, and at least 250 from amongst IMIC partners. Okay, value-added services, I've already mentioned this. So QA, QC, if somebody is interested in saying, okay, whether the lines that I have the required genetic purity, so on, you could submit those lines, since we kind of aggregate all the different materials, and we have a bargaining rate with some of the genotyping providers. So if you submit it to us for a small price, you can actually have your lines genotypes, and so individually you may not have the bargaining power, but since we do a lot of genotyping, just submit it for a small price and you get the results. Disease phenotyping, you submit your hybrids and inbred lines. Partners have done that for screening for charcoal rot. Again, very difficult. We have a disease plot at ICRISAT in Hyderabad, and you submit it. You can have screening done for fusarium stock rots, TLB, drought phenotyping, root phenotyping. Over here, we have had a partner having their germplasm phenotype for root traits, okay, and DH development service. Through our very new facility in India, in southern India near Bangalore. Okay, so we just started it, and in the first year of its operation, we have developed over 5,000 DH lines. Our target is about 15,000 lines annually delivered per year. Okay, so we are very much on track. I think by the end of this year, we'll already have 15,000 lines developed for this particular calendar year. So again, you can submit your populations, will derive the lines and send it back to you as is. Okay, so through this, we want to really accelerate development and deployment of a greater number of elite, climate resilient and nutritionally enriched maize hybrids in tropical Asia. Okay, so this caters to the needs of CIMIT, private partners, and public partners. So do get in touch with me on some of the details on all of these. We have net houses for screening, controlled screening of the fall armyworm. Again, a very recently introduced pest in Asia. It's been about 4 or 5 years now. We have some tolerant germplasm that you will see at the field day coming up in March next year. We have already shown some of it in the previous field day in 2022. Okay, path to market, licensing of 100% CIMIT pre-commercial hybrids. One important point here is that we do not register or commercialize these products. 1CG does not, okay? So we do whatever we do through partnerships, and the partnership with public institutions and partnerships with private seed companies. Okay, so through this, we want to give some equity to all the different seed companies that are prevalent in the region. Okay, so if you're a small company, yeah, you would get certain priorities based on track records and so on. And we would be very happy to actually license our top hybrids to you. With the license, you get inbred lines free of cost. And the expectation is that you will commercialize these products within a certain time frame. Okay, and all that we ask is at the end of this, how much seed have you sold? And that information will be confidential, and there's no royalty even at this stage. This information on seed sales is critical for us to survive, because we go with those numbers to our donors and say, okay, this is the impact. So we would need to be able to make that impact statements, and that we can do it only through you. So this is also an important aspect of partnering with CIMMYT and the One CG, and Ajay has talked about some of these aspects. He's given a general overview of some of these things already. Okay, so why this downstream push that we have in terms of trying to commercialize hybrids through partners? Because through this, we are getting a far better downstream intelligence, and that is kind of trickling upwards to our breeding programs, and we are able to design breeding programs keeping in mind what is required very downstream. And we, of course, want to generate impact at scale. Okay, not just giving germplasm, but actually trying to see how much hybrid is being sold in the farmers' fields. Okay, so it's business unusual. It's been business unusual over the last decade or so. So it's helped us gauge the pulse of the farmer, and it's shifted CIMMYT's breeding program from a trait-based approach from there to developing commercially viable products for the target market segment. So it's actually helped us in the process, and it's been a very conscious shift in the breeding program. You can see on the pictorial in the left bottom over there. Okay, so we started thinking about germplasm backgrounds, and then we started going into market segments and then seeing, okay, which germplasm background will fit there and what are those priority traits that are required, not the other way around. So enhanced research focus through this, it's yielded cost sharing benefits, and it's expanded our collaborative testing. Okay, so this is the breeder's dilemma. Okay, so I'm talking about so much diversity. Okay, so I can bring in a lot of diverse germplasm, but how commercially viable is the diverse germplasm? These are diametrically opposite. Okay, so how do we do this? Sorry, 2 minutes, 5 minutes? 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Okay, I'll try to finish up in a few minutes. Okay. So it's a dilemma, and we don't have very many people to put them in these verticals, but it's a challenge we are facing. We are trying to meet the challenge. Okay, stress tolerance, wide adaptation, stability of hybrids is what is required for many partners. At the same time, you want yield in optimal environments and specialty maize. Okay, niche hybrid performance versus broad inbred parent adaptation for moving into different seed production sites. Okay, enhanced genetic gains, yes, we want to see, versus optimized costs. Okay, and again, CIMMYT products remain international public goods, whereas a lot of private sector germplasm is in the proprietary area. How do we balance all these things? Okay, I'm not going to go into details of this. Please do get in touch with me on the terms of the membership of the regional chapter. Okay, this will be a 1-year term, okay, starting from 1st January. And from 2025 onwards, we'll streamline your membership with all the other existing partners. Okay, so some of the privileges are that you will get these maize inbred lines. But importantly, you will get an invite to the field day of IMIC Asia to be held in Hyderabad in India in March 2024. Okay, and usually by June or July, you will get the germplasm or the inbred lines. Right, I'm almost done there. There are certain obligations and expectations. This will all be in the document that I'll be sending you. When you contact me, for NARS members, it's of course free of cost, and many of them are honorary members already. And these are some indicative costs for the regional members, non-Indian members, companies outside of India for the next year. Okay, so these are some details which will be spelled out in the memorandum of agreement. Just write to me, I'll send you a template of it and you can go through it at leisure. Next steps. Okay, as I already mentioned, send me an email, I'll send you an MOA. You just sign and return it, and the membership process completes with that. And you'll have access to all the germplasm and the benefits that I have mentioned. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vivek, for your very informative, wonderful presentation. Dr. Vivek, please stay on dais for question and answer. So now the house is open for learned audience for question, comments, or suggestion, please. No?
Either nothing is clear or everything is very clear.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank
you.
You want to say a few words? Okay. Okay. Thank you very, very much. Everybody knows hungry man is angry man. Everybody now waiting for APSA, wonderful cocktail party. When am I right? Okay. So it's not time to say more. I just say on behalf of myself and my honorable session chairman, first of all, thank you very much for all the resourceful speakers for your attractive, informative, and comprehensive presentation. Also, thanks to all participants for your kind presence. Without your presence, without your active presence, session will not be succeed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So may I request the chair and co-chair and all speakers to proceed on the stage for the group photo, please. Dr. Malabanan, Dr. Panchbai, and Dr. Vivek, please. Also, our technical advisor, Dr. Chivendra Bajaj, please.